hello, Stacie, and welcome to episode 14 of the podcast. I'm glad you're here. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Stephen?
I'm doing great. Thank you for joining us. And um, you got a couple things you have going on, and I'm excited to talk to you about that. So just take a couple seconds, give us some context and background about you and your business.
Well, I am a Dallas native. I graduated from UT Arlington. I'm not going to tell you guys the year, but it was a great college experience. Had a degree in marketing, and 3 days after I graduated, I was super fortunate. I got to go straight to work into national television sales, where I spent the bulk of my time. I did national television sales and local television sales for many moons, and I loved my career. I loved the community, and over the latter part of my time as a media specialist, I even grew to be able to provide digital marketing services alongside my peers, where if somebody was doing a TV campaign or someone was doing a print campaign, I could come alongside them and recommend digital placements and digital strategies to strengthen the two strategies together so that it would be stronger and deliver more ROI.
Yeah, that's cool. And that's when you founded Free Martin?
Oh, well, so how Free Martin came to be was back in 2008, 2009, when the market crashed. Many media executives, alongside obviously several other types of companies, we were laid off. Yeah. And at the time, I was a single mom and raising a 10-year-old son on my own. I always had such a great job, and we had a nice home and, a great community. But when that happened, all of a sudden it felt like the rug was ripped out from under me. And as I looked around for, a replacement job, of course, they were very difficult to find. And I had to get resourceful. So I decided at that time to found Free Martin, which is my way of saying Stacie Martin Freelancing. My maiden name is Stacie Martin. And so that's why in our logo, you'll see, a backwards F, and that stands for Stacie. I normally work for a TV station, or I worked for a print publication, but every now and then I would freelance. And so you saw the other side of Stacie.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
You have a strong background in marketing. What is your attraction to the industry of marketing?
I feel that, I grew up in a home where my father was an entrepreneur. He worked tirelessly for a meat market, honestly, that our family had. We had 4 locations, in and around Dallas. And I grew up just loving my father, loving our business. Not that I loved being, the butcher's daughter per se, but I loved him, and I wanted to grow in business. He really inspired me to be like him.
Yeah, that's a lot of times when I start these episodes, I try to ask kind of a background you as a childhood, if you were in an entrepreneurship type family, because it's usually twofold. It's either you grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, or you decided to kind of do things on your own and figure it out. But no, that's good. When we talk about Free Martin, we talk about you doing freelance and everything. What would be the benefit of working with a company like yours?
Well, for me, I have really developed a passion for helping access media executives that I consider, peers and friends. I come alongside other advertising agencies as well as businesses in order to do all kinds of projects. I feel like at this particular stage, I can be very nimble and put to work, whether it's account management or digital media or media placement, or maybe it's writing content for a website or handling social media strategy and content calendaring. There's so many facets to marketing. As a person who's been exposed to so many of those different facets, I love the ideas that I'm able to bring to the table when I'm conversing with fellow entrepreneurs and also, fellow media strategists as well as fellow agencies. I feel like the world's our oyster, and as soon as we can kind of let down the walls and lock arms and go figure things out together, my dream is that all ships will rise, and we'll all get stronger and come through all of this better, faster, stronger,
Yep, I 100% agree. We were talking previously before hitting record, and we kind of had a same wavelength, I guess you would say, when we're same thought of the way we wanted to approach, when you look at a business owner and they maybe are new into the business, or not only are you trying to run a business, but you're also trying to get the word out about your business, right? You're trying to get organic growth or just word of mouth, whatever the case is. And we talked about this early, but there's a lot of difficulty because there's a lot going on in marketing, right? As a business owner, if I only had to pick one way to get my name out there or one resource, what would you recommend, and how would I go about doing that?
Well, I would say first, sit down with a cup of coffee and a piece of paper and be prepared to communicate about your business and about your goals. I think a lot of times there are so many different facets to marketing. If somebody comes and says, if I was just to spend, $1,500 a month and I can only do one thing, what should that thing be? And I would say in every situation, it could be a different answer. What a restaurant $1,500 should be spent on is different than what a bakery should do, is different than, what maybe a car dealer or a painting company or a doctor, a practice, a health situation. So yeah. A lot of my background, I guess I would say, I always tried to train myself and others to think about, you have on, right? Online store is your open door for people to walk through, just like as if you had, a regular store for people to walk through. And those pieces of that puzzle, when you walk into a clothing store, let's say, you have, all of your merchandise, you have all of your branding, you have, all kinds of things to communicate. You have a certain radius that you're going to target and a certain demographic that you're going to target. And that is completely different than the Harley Davidson motorcycle shop 2 miles away, right? Yep. And so I would say, with all due respect, give time and thought to strategy.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think that's a lot of times where people get confused, because there is so much that they can do, right? And even the way that marketing has progressed from 2009 to 2020, right? There's a huge difference, the way that you would attack the market then and now.
Oh yeah, just the advent of streaming television and radio. When I started really working for myself a few years ago, more full time, I was trying to come up with a slogan, and I coming back to it, it's like advertising is a team sport. We can help you win. And I really do want people to win. I want my partners to win, and I want to be a winning solution here in our community.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah. So in your industry, with the way that things transition throughout your career, how are you doing? Is there any training programs that you do every year? How are you staying up to date with all the newest, latest, and greatest opportunities out there for marketing?
For me, I stay in touch with, of course, the media executives that I know at the different television stations and radio stations. Ask questions. You can also go to lots of training online, whether you go to digital training, to get IAB certified if you have the time for that. Marketing Profs is a really great website I like. And just really collaborating. Like, I don't know, everybody learns differently, but I really love to roll up my sleeves and get in the middle of things and listen to what other people think work and maybe why it doesn't work sometimes, and look at alternatives before I, make a recommendation.
Yeah. And we talked about this also earlier about how can I improve the podcast? And just immediately you started coming up with ideas of way we can kind of attack that too. So does that bring you into, is there any specific industry or market that you prefer to stay in, or is it fair game for any of them?
Well, I've been doing a lot of patient recruitment strategies for physicians and practices. Also, interesting, starting to do some writing, which is real personal for me. I've always, as an individual, Stacie the girl, I've always written like poetry. And not very many people know that about me. But when I bring that to content development, it really is exciting. Completely different setting, completely different purpose, and canter, if you will. But I'm super excited to be able to do some content development and work alongside practitioners and help them communicate and meet patients' needs.
Yeah.
But I've been working across multiple verticals, but that one kind of stands out to me more than any other.
Yeah, that's cool. I like what you said earlier about, marketing is a team sport. You can win and you can help, right? You being Free Martin, but
me and my team.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's right. So going to team, kind of explain the importance of having a good team as opposed to trying to do this all on your own.
Well, I talked about it earlier today, where I feel that along the years of performing media buys, placing media buys, earning business from companies who have a lot of choices in the marketplace, eventually I've been very fortunate to come across some collaborative businesses and freelancers who are just they're not just collaborative, they're trustworthy, they're transparent, they do what they say they're going to do, and they do a quality job, right?
Yep.
And so I feel like I'm super fortunate that I have been able to lock arms with some collaborative agencies who do production or possibly do SEO, and then we can work together on a project. It's really been interesting. A lot of the agencies that I've called on, they have staff, and the staff does that work. You have a creative director, and you have your media department and reporting and analytics, and all of those different departments typically are, housed, in the agency, the one, umbrella agency. And, being able to say, okay, we're going to each keep our companies, but we are going to create a collaborative where all of us can go in together and just say, we are all entrepreneurs and we're all out there trying to, do what we do and make a living, but also kind of take off the cap or the mask, if you will, and go, this is who we are. This is our story. This is what we bring to the table individually, and this is what we bring to the table collectively. Yeah. And it's just so refreshing, and I think the world's ready for that. I think entrepreneurs are ready to work together, and customers and people who need marketing solutions are also listening to new and different ways of solving communication. Because at the end of the day, marketing is what? It's communication.
Yep. Yeah, I like that. And that's, one of the things that I kind of mentioned too in all of these episodes is the importance of networking and building kind of rapport with other like-minded individuals, because to your point, the same thing, you collaborate with those who who you're comfortable with. And so if you take the time to really network and build those relationships, it makes it a lot easier going forward for an example like that, dealing with something like your business.
Yeah, and everybody's got skin in the game, right? And the game being, how are we going to all get through this together?
Yeah.
And, we want to, steady the boat as much as possible and really take a solution that might not be so packaged up. Yeah. It might not be pre-packaged. It might be, okay, we're going to do these 3 components because these are the 3 components you can afford. So we'll unravel things and get going what we can, and that can serve as a building block for something else down the road. And all of those different solutions can be, paced out to where a business today can afford it, and they can see some differences. It doesn't have to be, one and done, or only one way to slice the pie, if you will, for a marketing strategy to be effective.
Yeah, that's good. I want to shift over too, because back in 2009, you weren't only building a freelance business, right? You were also starting a nonprofit, right? So take a few minutes and talk about your nonprofit and, what is your passion project?
Well, so as I mentioned, when I founded Free Martin, I was a single mom and had a 10-year-old boy. And I, who hasn't been laid off that didn't just absolutely feel, so lost? I would never want anybody to be laid off that I ever knew. And a lot of that's been going on even these days because of the circumstances of COVID-19. But I really wholeheartedly identify with that. And I felt in the same way. And so I was looking for solutions and asking for help. I would try to see if I could get, food stamps, or work with my mortgage company to delay payments, or, call the state to see what kind of aid there was available. Luckily they had health insurance for children, and I was able to qualify for that. But moreover, because I, had a great career, I was turned away by a lot of the different agencies. There just isn't a solution for somebody who had a great career and just got laid off. It just doesn't feel like there's any answers. And I feel like since 2009, our community has really learned a lot. The world's really learned a lot. We've realized and acknowledged that there is a working poor sector of America, largely made up of single parents, but and there are more and more resources, but they're not enough after going through founding a single parent advocate, I learned, in North Texas alone, if you're raising 2 kids on your own, you need to make, believe it or not, about $47,000 to live on a skinny budget and kind of, keep them clothed, keep them in school, keep them insured, and housed, and have transportation, and keep them fed, and able to go to the doctor. Like, it takes that, and only 30% of the jobs traditionally available in North Texas pay that. And so that's why we see this big percentage of the population. 1 in 3 children here are being raised by a single parent, and it's against all odds. And they face death of a spouse, they face divorce, depression, all kinds of things, doubt, fear, and so I'm glad I founded Single Parent Advocate. I'm glad that I spent so much time investing in it. And of course, now it's not just me, it's a team. And we are embarking on our first hybrid Christmas and Thanksgiving season, which is going to be really cool.
That's awesome.
And it's definitely my love and my heart to serve single families.
So what is your goal for the nonprofit? I mean, do you have any long-term goals that you want to try to hit, or do you have a yearly goal that you try to make sure you hit every year?
So every year we are working to raise about $150,000. We spend most of that money on serving families. We do provide book scholarships for single parents in college, and we provide, back to school supplies for the families who have school-age children. And then we come alongside families at Thanksgiving and Christmas with food, and then, Christmas festivities. So it ends up being, really, honestly, it could be very easily my full-time job, running a single parent advocate. And I'm super excited, to maybe, just be in a season now where I can work both my businesses and just be shoulders to the wheel for the steering committee and the board on the single parent advocate side, and then for my collaborative partners and clients on the Free Martin side.
Yeah, no, that's good. And that's exciting what you have going on. I mean, a lot of credit to you for taking that step, and you're helping a lot of people. But during that, you've also met a lot of people too. So do you have a story or two you'd like to share about how Single Parent Advocate has changed maybe the direction of somebody's life?
Well, I feel like probably one of the most impactful things that has happened to me, and I still always remember this, when I very, very first, I got a booth at a Labor Day or something, and we were getting started, and I had, school supplies that had been donated, as well as, some people were donating massages or trips to the nail salon or different things. And I'll never forget this single father. I cry thinking about it, actually. We were, handing out, doing drawings, and we would hand out, school supplies to the kids and everything. And I said, okay, well, this drawing is for the parents, not, I told the kids, go get your parents. This is for them. And this single dad walks up, and he's like in shock, like, this is for us? Like, we deserve help? We deserve something? Or somebody cares about us? It just, I remember that look of astonishment. And so I always make sure I remind people, first and foremost, just because you're a single family doesn't mean you're broken, right? There's a lot of success stories of single families, and so we just need to kind of rip that off of our self-identities and realize that, it's not really fair to compare ourselves, to other models, if you will. You can be just as successful. and success. I wrote this article one time, and I don't know if you could see this, but it's a little bookmark, and there's this acronym that I wrote, what does successful single parenting look like? And I take these with me everywhere. Surround yourself with people who, care about you and who validate you. And, use your resources. There's a lot of different tips that, they're right here all the time, but when we're in shock or when we're up against all odds, it's real easy to either A, quit, or B, operate from a position of fear and panic rather than a position of enlightenment and abundance.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're going through something like that, it is just easier to throw your hands up and say, I quit, right? But now that they have the ability to get help and support from an organization like yours, says a lot. So again, a lot of credit to you. You're doing some great things, and I'm excited to see that the way it progressed going forward now that we know each other and we'll stay in contact and things like that. But, on that, I've got a handful of listeners on here that may be interested in learning. So my question to you is, how can we as a community help you? What is it that you're looking for? How can maybe an individual reach out to you, and is anything specific that we can help you with?
Oh yeah, thank you for asking that. Well, there's a lot to do. I'm really hoping to build out Single Parent Advocates Board now that I'm kind of available to work on that. So if there's anyone who would like to volunteer for our board, we have a 10-year-old organization with lots of work to do. And whether that's working on fundraising and development or event planning or family casework, the whole organization for the most part is all volunteer driven, which is really cool. And we're also all virtual, so we're COVID friendly. And except for when we need to distribute and support our families, sometimes we go on location. But the other way people can help, obviously, you hear charities say this all the time. It's really hard. A lot of people have lost funding during COVID. I will say, just to the community, hats off to you guys, because we're, probably in better standing, than some nonprofits for sure. We've been really careful to keep our budget flat year over year, and just spending money differently. At Christmas, we're going to be doing a video production to have sort of like an online party, if you will. And so that's $5,000 that we wouldn't have had to spend because we've never ever had to pay to rent a facility, Yeah. Things like that, just there was another thing that came up recently that I thought was so interesting. You think about the logistics of a virtual organization needing to go and sort toys and food and get it prepared to, hand out, masks and gloves and being 6 feet apart and stuffing Christmas boxes,
Yeah.
And those are the simple and fun kinds of things to do as well. One of my biggest things that I hope to launch in the coming year is a way for families to be matched to sponsors. And so you can come alongside a family and have like a monthly donation amount that will help us help them and, keep them, more tethered than we have in the past, which is really huge. Having help, staying in touch with the families and knowing when things might not be going as well,
Yeah.
And lastly, I would say, if you are interested in volunteering, you can go to singleparentadvocate.org or go to our Facebook page, and we're mostly monitoring those two channels, and we would love to get you involved. It would be an honor to have more of the business community in the trenches with us. Absolutely.
Yeah. And for the listeners, I'm going to put all of that information in the show notes as far as links to all of the pages, so that we can quickly and easily get to that. And, again, I'm speaking directly to the community. Let's do what we can as a community to support local nonprofits. And Stacie's doing a great job at what she's doing there. So if you have the means to help, definitely contact her and let's help her out. I want to shift over a little bit, just kind of some overview entrepreneur questions, because in 2009 you started basically two businesses at once. So, what was life like during those times of starting really two businesses? Because obviously it was easy, right? I mean, that's the whole idea of being an entrepreneur. Like, yeah, I can work a couple hours a day and
Be your own boss.
yeah, be your own boss and work when I want. And anyway, so touch on that a little bit. What was it like really starting two businesses at the same time, along with everything else in your life that's going on?
Well, I will say, if I were to talk about 08, 09, it was things like learning about bylaws and vision statements and mission statements and networking. And, I went through kind of like, who am I? It really affected my identity a lot, to like, I'm not Stacie with the Dallas Morning News, or I'm not Stacie with Blair Television. I'm Stacie. And there was nothing sexy on the end anymore, And I was like, I need to be okay with this.
Yeah.
And so I really had to do a lot of self-growth, a lot of self-esteem work, coming off of being laid off and then being turned away by, some, relief situations that I felt like I needed. So it was a kind of a time where I really had to look in the mirror. And it's the same today, if I were to have people who I've worked with at Spectrum Reach here, or some other media channels, I think that we would all say, every day is different. And, there's some days where your employer or your work has more planned for you than you can possibly keep up with. Yeah. And I think it's really important to be on the learn. Like you were saying earlier, always be on the learn. For me, learning to build a business, have QuickBooks, pay my quarterly taxes, several different pieces of, just operating a business day to day. I think I can honestly say I took that for granted. I never really had to be a part of that because I was an account manager or a sales manager. And moving into, okay, you are the sales department, you are the ops team, and yes, you are the bookkeeper and the bottle washer. And just giving ourselves latitude. And I had a coach tell me recently, she said, you need time to work in your business and you need time to work on your business. Yeah. And so, in your business is doing tasks, of course, and working on your business is developing relationships and partnerships, collaborations, and clients. And so I learned really quickly that, entrepreneurship is, not a 40-hour work week, and that's okay. That's not necessarily what I was going for when I decided to go here in this direction. But I would, reach out to anyone who's feeling like they can't keep up, who's new into the entrepreneurial space. I would say, keep swimming, give yourself some time, some self-care. And remember give yourself, a day or two a week to work in your business, and then, 2 or 3 days a week to work on your business and get out there and network and develop some new friends and partnerships and, profitable relationships.
Yeah.
And then the third thing I would say I learned is, this is from a networking group that I'm honored to be a part of. They're called C-Suite. And they say, what's your ask? Tell everybody who you are, what's your ask? And then they also say, what's your give? And so come to every relationship with, what you have to give. Maybe sometimes it's encouragement, a cup of coffee. Maybe your give some days is lighter than what your give can be in other days or other situations. And so just remember, we're all coming through a lot, and we need each other.
Well, a lot of times, going back to the entrepreneur type mindset, starting one business alone is not a 40-hour work week, let alone two, right?
Are you telling me I'm crazy?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, but I mean, no, I think both companies that you've kind of built are both very successful. And I think, just again, a lot of credit to you for being able to make that adjustment, right, to life in general of owning, going from working for the man to being the woman, right? I mean, if you look at it that way. So no, just
that doesn't happen without a community,
yeah.
without people who care, whether, like I said earlier, whether I'm talking about my former peers, who I still love and adore and miss, seeing every day, or I'm talking about, collaborating with them and bringing them to the table to make a difference in somebody's business. It really is on my heart, to bring us all together and to bring solutions that are creative, effective, and collaborative.
Yeah.
And I know we can figure out a way to do that where everybody is able to provide for themselves and their families. And it's about vulnerability, positivity, welcoming abundance and partnership, and maybe putting fear aside as much as possible.
Yeah.
And working together.
Yeah, and I think all of that combined plus rest is important, right? So I got a buddy that has a podcast, and he interviews a ton of entrepreneurs, and he asked the question of, if you were king for the day or if you were queen for the day, what role would you implement that everybody had to follow? And majority of them that I hear is you have to take a day off, because if you don't make sure that you take that necessary time, then you're going to get just wore out. And at the end of the day, you'll just throw your hands up and say, why am I doing this? Right. So,
well, the thing, that's interesting you say that, because I mentioned, I'm super excited to have a coach in my life. Well, I want to know the woman behind the business.
Yeah.
And if we're not taking care of, what's right here in front of us, that saying, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others.
Right.
There's a lot to be said about time for self-care, because you can't bring your brain to a conversation or to a problem if it's burned out.
Yeah.
And certainly if you haven't unplugged and realigned your heart, after a hard day, to go, wait a minute, I'm not gonna get jaded. I'm not gonna get discouraged. You want to be open to possibilities, and you bring your most open and resourceful self to every conversation. And it's upon us to foster that in our own lives. We need to be reading books and listening to podcasts, and iron sharpens iron. I keep saying this over and over again, but we really need each other.
Right.
And 8 hours of sleep, I always get onto myself. I have a sleep app. I don't have my phone with me, but I have this app every morning. It's like, okay, did I get 8 hours? You know, and it monitors your heart rate, all that stuff. And it's amazing, you know, how just presence of mind around stretching, walking, sleeping, getting enough water, eating reasonably correct. You know, there's so many of us that don't eat at all when we're out hustling and doing a lot of work, but you know, just putting a granola bar in your purse or a protein bar and making sure you have, you know, a Gatorade Zero and a water, you know, just have a to-go pack for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I think whenever you look at the big picture of running a business, you forget about the small things. Like you said, you know, you want to make this huge move in your business, but you forgot to pack a granola bar and a G2, and now you're deprived of energy. And, you know, so just, you got to look at the little things too, because those are sometimes more important than the big picture.
Yeah. You know, so there's this friend of mine, and he's very passionate about helping homeless individuals. And in the back of his car, he has, you know, these pre-packed Ziplocs of, you know, peanut butter crackers and wipes and maybe a mask and, you know, items. So if he comes across a person, he doesn't give them money necessarily, but gives them this pack of things.
That's cool.
And we need to do that for ourselves.
Yep.
Or maybe for each other. Maybe we need to have an entrepreneur mercy pack. Like, hey, I see you're kind of scrambling. Here's one of my mercy packs for you.
You know, that's actually a really good idea of trying to market something like that, of entrepreneur survival kit.
Yeah.
You know, just
that's
take
what we need to do.
All of the things that you heard it first here on the podcast, that you know, look out for that, because it's coming.
Yeah, no, it's true. And then, you know, and like I said earlier, when we were talking before we, you know, put it on tape, there's so many people that are not entrepreneurs. They're at corporate America. They're at the TV stations. They're at the businesses. They're at the hotels, and they are, you know, doing the jobs of, you know, 2 or 3 people, because everybody's, you know, obviously had to go through downsizing, or a lot of people have. And those folks, you know, they need our mercy kits too.
Yeah.
And they're, you know, going gangbusters. And, you know, I think one of the most touching things that has happened to me, and it was a time when I really need to put myself in check, you know, because we're all trying to drive a goal, you know, we're you know, here's my task list, here's everything I've got to get done, and I got to make things happen also, you know, and we get to following up on all of that. And one time I was doing that, and I called somebody, and I was like, I hadn't heard back from you, wanted to, you know, check what's the status of this or that. And she said, well, I came down with COVID, and so did my little girl. And it was just like, how come I didn't open up the conversation with, how are you? How are you feeling? How's your family? It just really struck me. Yeah. And I think being gentle and being kind, and remembering that in these days, you can't take for granted that the person answering the phone is in the same situation that they were in the last time you talked to them.
Yep. No, that's good. I mean, that's sometimes another thing that commonly gets overlooked, is just general questions of, I mean, if you ask somebody a question of how are you, that could shape the whole conversation. That could just really say, oh, this person actually really cares, or they're just looking to make $1 or whatever, you know?
Well, yeah. And, you know, it really struck me, especially with the nonprofit going into Christmas, and we're busy being elves, and we're delivering a new program called SPA EDU, which is being led by a wonderful woman who is a professional counselor, and we're bringing soft skills and training from professional speakers and professional trainers to single parents directly. And it's all done in private on Zoom, and really quality training from top authors. It's super exciting. I'm geeking out about it. But, there's a lot of moving parts, and, following up on it usually seems like it's just a normal task, a normal checklist.
Yeah.
But when you're dealing with this population, or each other or any population, just tempering that with a pause that says, wait a minute, the person matters here more than the passion project.
Yeah.
And just getting out of high gear for a minute. If we could conduct business that way, and we could, take that with us when we come out of the great pause.
Yeah.
That'd be a great win for all of us.
Yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice for everyone to follow. But on that note, what is the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Wow. I'll say the advice that I always come back to is, we all have a voice inside our head, and we choose how we let that voice talk to us.
Right.
And, be kind to yourself, and, try to find something good, something to be grateful for, because they're all around us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And breathe. Those three things, be kind to yourself, find three things around you that you're grateful for, and more, hopefully, and breathe. Breathe in for 3 counts and breathe out for 3 counts. And between giving thanks and breathing and, just having a little grace on yourself, you end up bringing light into the world that you get to walk into every day, whether that's in business or whether that's in humanities. And that's the best gift we all have to give is that.
Yeah. So aside from the Empowering Business DFW podcast, do you have a favorite podcast or book that you always kind of refer to on the daily?
Oh, well, on the daily, my book is the Bible.
Yeah.
That's the book for me. But I also have been reading this really great book, 2 books recently, again, from my coach. One of them was called Judgment Detox. And it was about, it was really kind of a deep journey about, learning to let go of judgment of ourselves and of others so that we can truly love in business and in life. And then the other was called The Big Leap. The Big Leap is about how when we start achieving certain amount of success, oftentimes we're pre-programmed. We hit our own glass ceiling because we've never had that much success before. And so we'll sort of do something that'll automatically knock us back down into our comfort zone. And there's several different, examples that they give of types of things that happens. So in my situation, it really helped me a lot to realize, I can be successful as an entrepreneur, and I can. And it's just I've never really been a full-time entrepreneur before. And so I need to realize when I'm having that kind of feeling in my heart of like, oh, I have to tell myself, no, we're not going to have an upper limit problem. We're going to take the big leap and we're going to, spiral up. And it was just a really great book to talk about mindset and mentality about, that being a fish out of water situation that sometimes we face as we grow.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about a lot just in the last time that we've been here. Your business, your marketing business, your nonprofit. We've talked about the SPA EDU. Is there anything else that you have going on right now that you want the listeners to tune into?
I would say for now, what I would love to do is, offer, any kind of marketing and analysis. If I could ever, give to the community, certainly if you need to pick somebody's brain and stuff, hopefully my brain would be good for you and I could kind of collaborate and help you guys, anyone that wants to. The other thing I would say is, if you're not jumping in and swimming with, our nonprofit, find one.
Yeah.
Find one. Even if you're unemployed, there's such value in, locking arms and lifting lives. It is, one of the cheapest forms of entertainment. I always told my son it doesn't cost anything to go down and wrap diapers for, World Vision, right? It doesn't cost anything to go and, wrap toys for, somebody who's trying to do that. And it's a day full of joy and of giving, and you always have that rewarded feeling. So, don't sit on the sidelines, even if you are sort of temporarily sidelined. Get involved with us or someone. And I'd love to keep you all with me.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And for the listeners, like I said, I will put all of Stacie's contact information in the show notes. So if you're curious about, marketing analysis, or you're curious about, donating some time or money to the nonprofit, just reach out to her and get a hold of her there. So as we wrap up, Stacie, do you have any shout outs, anyone you want to thank for maybe throughout your career? Do you have a mentor?
Oh my gosh. Well, I will say first and foremost, I got to thank God and thank my father, of course, and all of my media partners and peers, through the years. I just continue to be in awe of what we do. I'm super grateful for the Single Parent Advocate Steering Committee, Success North Dallas and Huffines Automotive, Love for Kids, and gosh, the list goes on and on. Last year, recently, there was all medical personnel in Irving, Texas, gathered their Blue Jean money and gave us, a big year-end donation that we have used. It was just in time for us to face COVID, and I'm so grateful for all of you, for all the single parents who allow us in their lives, and all of the businesses that are allowing me and into their, it's to be. And I take it very seriously, and I want to lean in with all of you on all these things. And if I left anybody out, it's probably just because I'm nervous. Type your name in the chat and we'll shout you out too. I will say, in business, one of my current partners has been Target Productions, and he's really been leaning in. And then LMG, digital marketing, and Addison, they have been, with me, as well as Media Savvy, 4 different entities all working together, on different projects. And then on the single parent advocate side, the girls and my husband, oh my gosh, my husband has been incredible helping to plan this new hybrid Christmas. And my family is always forgiving of my hours. It's
Well, good.
wonderful.
Well, good. Well, Stacie, I definitely appreciate your time, and I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity to chat with you, and thankful for the amount of time that you've set aside to kind of chat with us. And um, if I can do anything for you in the future, definitely let me know. If we can do anything as a community, if we can support you in any way, definitely let us know that as well.
Well, I will do this. I will send you a volunteer opportunity email for the fall, and we'd love anybody to come jump in. I'm super excited. We have had two churches step up to maybe help us host some events and to help provide volunteerism. One is Gateway Church in Dallas, and the other is Preston Trails Church in Frisco. And then we also have a business who recently is willing to donate their office space for all of us to gather and really work together to lift lives in a COVID compliant kind of way. So I'll make sure and send you that email to share with anyone who would like that. That'll be great.
That sounds good. Well, thank you, Stacie, for your time, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you. Thank you very much.